Welcome to this episode of TransformHer. On this show, we ignite audacity and break barriers so that we can usher in a new era of inclusive leadership that is bound to drive prosperity across the African continent. Today, we're going to be discussing wealth wisdom, unlocking financial potential and entrepreneurial growth. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back. On the show today, I'll be discussing with our guest, Mrs. Chioma Okigbo. Lady Chioma is the Chief Executive Officer of Mode Management, MODD that is. She is a powerhouse in asset management and business development, and I'm delighted to have her on this show. Welcome, Lady Chioma.
Thank you so much, Chioma. It's my pleasure to be here. It's very exciting to see what you've been doing with TransformHer, and I'm honored, truly honored to be here.
And I'll have it no other way than to discuss with women like you. And I picked this topic because I know that you have a lot to unpack. You see this thing called money, right? It is mystical, it is mysterious, it is magical. And so what we're going to do on this episode is break it down. And I want to start from the basics. I want to ask you, what strategies have you adopted to help individuals and businesses alike build wealth?
Okay, so building wealth is not magic. It's actually time-tested principles. Where we struggle is where people assume that wealth will meet them by some miracle without a proper plan. We all know the popular saying that if you fail to plan, you have planned to fail. It's exactly the same thing with money. Making money is not something that happens overnight. It's only in our environment where you see people who were absolute paupers get into perhaps a position and then they become wealthy overnight. In normal climes, that doesn't happen. You build wealth, and it's built over time. It's built strategically. It's built with a lot of thought and a lot of deliberate action. So, I can talk you through the principles, the ideas that would help in building wealth. Now, the first idea that I will talk about essentially is committing yourself to learning. You must learn, you must be deliberate about learning about money, how money works. If you don't learn how money works, even if you earn 20 million naira, you will fritter it away. You must understand money. Money has principles. You must learn those principles. And what better way to achieve whatever it is that you set out to achieve than to understand the principles behind money? So that's the first thing I would say. You must learn. The second thing I would say is that you must have goals. We can't leave things to chance. So you can't, for instance, say, I'm going to pay my rent next year, but I'm going to wait until the rent is due to look for the money. That's just foolishness, isn't it?
For sure.
So you must have a goal, and those goals will be short-term, medium-term, and long-term. Now, the short-term goals will be things like rent. They're going to recur every year. Therefore, if I know that my rent is due in a year's time, what kind of plans should I have in place? Should you not break down the rent into months so that you know how much you need to save per month towards the rent? I always find it very amusing when people come to me and say, my wife is pregnant, she's due, and I don't have money for hospital. I'm like, pregnancy is not sudden. It takes 9 months. You plan for it. So you should have a plan. Your rent is due. School fees are due. Your children didn't come out of the womb and get to school age overnight. There's a plan, there's a process. So you should plan. That's why you have short, medium, and long-term goals. Yeah. So you must, for every goal that you set, you must have a plan.
Right.
How do you achieve it? Right. What do you need to do with money? Now, for a lot of young people who are just starting out in life, they live at home. They're privileged. They live with their parents. They're not paying rent. They're barely buying lunch because they can make food and take to work. Yet, these are the people who have the least disposable income. Why is that? Because they assume that whatever is going to happen in the future, somebody is going to be responsible for making sure that happens. Yeah. But that's just not smart.
So let's talk about Nigeria, right? I live in Nigeria. I'm an entrepreneur, and there are times I will tell you or say to you that I've not been able to save. Maybe there were times there was no work. So I wasn't employed by someone. I didn't have a regular 9-to-5 that was bringing in income. And in trying to grow my business, there were times I couldn't pay myself because the business needed to run. What advice? There are many people watching this show who have that problem. And they're saying, Lady Chioma is saying to me, save for the rainy day. If my rent is up in 1 year, how do you tackle, this is a real life, let's sort of bring it home and take it away from paper. How would you tackle that situation?
Okay, so statistically, about 90-95% of people work before they become entrepreneurs. Okay?
Yes.
So there are very few people who, they're there, but there are very few people who leave school and become entrepreneurs.
Right.
Straight up. They work somewhere. So in those years when you're working, you must learn, number one, the word no. You must learn not to buy that Chicken Republic that you think is insignificant.
Yes.
You must learn, you must find no in your dictionary somewhere because you have a plan. It's not, there are things that you want and there are things that you need. You must learn to differentiate between the two. And even the things that you need, is it the right time? Can you defer it? Can you do it another time? Can you do it later? Can it wait? But when you lack accountability and you think every money that comes into your hand, you should find outlet for it, then you're bound to have problems when you shouldn't have problems. So if you've saved in the years that you worked and you become an entrepreneur, there is a fallback position. There's some level of fallback. Right. Now, the rule of thumb I always go with is, I'm a Christian. So when I earn my income, the first thing I think about is paying my tithe. Right. So I take out 10%. I know not everybody is a Christian watching the show. So they probably, the Muslims have their salaka, their zakat, the things that they do. Right. But as a Christian, I take out 10%. And guess the next thing I do? I take out money that I spend on myself. I have to buy food, I pay myself first. So before the tailors come, before the all the people, other people that are latching on, before they come, before the NEPA people come, before the DSTV bill comes, before all those other bills come. And do you know what I do with the money that I pay myself? That's the money I invest.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the first thing I do. Wow. I take out the money that I'm going to invest. So at the early stage of my career, of my life, I was saving maybe 5% of my income. And of course, the whole idea is to drive yourself to the point where you're saving over 40-50% of your income.
Wow. Is that possible?
Oh, it's very possible.
One of the things we like to do on this show is summarize what our guests say so that we can take out practical insights. I told you Lady Chioma was a powerhouse. Is a powerhouse. Some of the things she said, insignificant droplets or seemingly insignificant droplets of water make a mighty ocean. So that bag, shoe, aṣọ ẹbí, all of these things that you think, you know what, it's just a little, amount, it won't amount to anything. These become significant sums that you could otherwise have invested. She says you must learn to say no. You must delay your gratification, and you must be deliberate and disciplined about putting money aside and differentiating between what a want is and what an actual need is. I have 1,000,001 questions for her, but what practical tips would you give to individuals looking to create wealth, right, and have a plan B? Let's talk about plan B, and let's take this to investing. In the practical sense of things, tell me how I'll invest 100,000, 500,000, and 1,000,000.
Okay, so plan Bs essentially are things you do that don't take up too much of your time, that don't take time away from your core income source. Okay,
Right.
so it could be investments, investment returns. So if you've reached the point where you've invested in a lot of real estate, that's your plan B income. That's where your
Okay.
other source of income is coming out from. If you've invested a lot in the stock market, the dividends could form part of your plan B. Now, but if you're asking about plan B as a business, okay?
Two different things.
Yes, if you're asking about plan B as a business, number one, my view on plan B as a business is you must do things, you must think about doing things that don't take your time. Okay, so I'll give you a classic example. If you can teach soccer, don't teach soccer. Record a tutorial on how soccer is played, so that while you're at work, people are downloading your tutorial and they're paying for it, and you're earning that income.
Right.
So if, for instance, I understand wealth, I understand how to build wealth, I should not teach it. I should create tutorials, tools that people can download, people can read, listen to, whatever it is. And that way, I don't have to be physically involved every time I'm making money. And so I learned very early that a lot of people don't have the discipline to build a business. They say they want to build a business, but they don't have the discipline and they don't have the skills. That's what led me to running an online training program for entrepreneurs.
Oh.
Because I realized that 80 out of 85 people that signed up for the business had no clue what to do. So you had to teach them every single thing. Everything. Inventory, stock taking, retailing, every aspect of that business you had to teach them. And I found out that when I started my business, which is wealth administration, it conflicted. The timing, the amount of time or the quantum of time I physically needed to be involved in a networking business, conflicted with my time. And so I slowed down to only retailing. Now, why am I telling you this story? That singular experiment of trying to find a plan B showed me where there's a gap in the market.
Oh, wow, I see what you mean. Okay.
So,
wow.
A lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs don't know how to be entrepreneurs. They don't know how to build a business. They don't understand the fundamentals of running a business. So they will fail. I'm sorry, it's not a curse, but it's a reality.
It's common sense.
It's common sense.
It's common
so
sense.
The first thing you do if you want to run a business is to read books on how to run a business, how successful entrepreneurs have coped, what they have done to make themselves successful, to build the business from point A to point B. What have they done? How have they done it? What do they need to do? You must have a continuous learning mindset. If you don't keep learning and keep reinventing yourself, you will rot. So,
Okay.
yes.
So I so much that I want to unpack, but hey, this is a good place to take a break. So we'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back. Still on the show is Mrs. Chioma Okigbo, the Chief Executive Officer of Mode Management. And before we went on the break, I'd asked her a very crucial question. I know a lot of you are waiting for the answer. Lady Chioma, how do I invest as little as 100,000? Maybe we should go lower, but let's keep it at 100, 500, and 1 million naira.
Okay, thank you. So there are a number of instruments, there are a number of securities, there are a number of investment opportunities. But again, I do not, it's like going to a doctor to say, I have malaria, which medicine should I take? So you need to understand a few things about investing. Number one is how much risk are you willing to take? Number two is what's your time horizon? Is it short term, 1 year, less than 1 year? Is it medium term, 3 to 5 years? Is it long term? This money that you have for investing, how long can you put it away? Okay? And ultimately, what do you want the money to do, to achieve for you? Is it towards your retirement? What's the goal behind it? Is it towards buying a house? Are you going to be adding to it? Do you need it? Is it towards paying your house rent? Is it towards paying your school fees? Or is it towards a marriage? Or towards, I don't know, whatever it is that is the goal behind it. Now, once you've answered those questions, then there are a number of things you can do. If it's short term, look for what we call money market instruments. They're money market funds, mutual funds. Mutual funds is a collective investment scheme that pulls money from many different people, from as low as 5,000 naira. That's why I'm saying that you can actually, anybody can start an investment plan. Once I got pregnant for my children, I started an investment plan for them.
Wow.
Yes. I started
That's
to put,
impressive.
Yes, I started to put down 5,000 naira every month for the one child that I knew I was carrying. When that one was born and I got pregnant again, I started to save for the other one. Now I could save 10,000 for the second one, and I continued to save for the first one. So to make this kind of saving easy, automate it.
Wow.
Let it leave your salary before your salary comes to you. So you're not tempted, you don't have any pressure. You know, you see, money you don't have, you don't miss. If you don't earn it, you don't miss it. So if it leaves your account before your money gets to your account, you really don't, you plan around what you can see. Now, so once you've accumulated 100,000, because the question I mostly receive is, how do I even save to get 100,000?
Right.
When all I earn is 50,000. You're not going to get 100,000 overnight now. You're going to get it by putting aside 5,000 every month. 1 year, 60,000. The following year, 40,000 will come out. Then you get 100,000. That's how it works. So everything is, there's a process. There's a process to life, and there is a process to making money. But once you have the money, there are many investment products. Do you know that you can buy units of real estate with 100,000 naira?
Wow.
Yes, in a mutual fund that is targeted at real estate investing. So there are just so many opportunities out there if you have 1 million naira. Once you've identified your time frame for investing, there are millions of investment opportunities.
Wow.
You know, there are advisory firms that can help you.
Wow.
I co-founded one. I'm not going to talk about the name here, but I co-founded an investment advisory firm because I know people don't know who to go to. They don't know where to go. They only go to one because somebody from the organization has come to them.
Oh,
But
I see.
you can have an independent check, A lot of us, 70 million Nigerians, use telephone, use the handset, the GSM.
Yes, yes.
Over 15 million have smartphones, but they use it to watch what I don't know, you know, just different irrelevant programs. That money, you can use that data to improve your knowledge.
Chioma, so it's fascinating that you said that with as little as 5,000 naira, one can start investment. So let's look at the different things that you've spoken about. And I want us to be specific as to short term, medium term, and long term. And I like how you put it that you must set goals for your money, right? So it's really not rocket science. It's about painstakingly understanding money and planning towards. So can you run us through what short term would be, what medium term would be, and what long term would be in terms of investment?
Okay. Yeah, so there are different asset classes, as we call them. Right. Each asset class has its own characteristics and can be used for the different time horizons. Now, if you're looking at short-term investments, then you should look at, you know, fixed deposits,
right,
treasury bills,
okay,
anything that is tenured below 2 years.
Is short term.
Is short term. Now, if you're looking at medium-term investments, then you should start to consider mutual funds. So mutual funds are kind of like they have different underlying assets, okay? So if you have a mutual fund that only has fixed deposits, government treasury bills, and all of that, that can be used for your short term. But if you need something that will cover the medium term, 2 to 5 years, then you should look at funds that include perhaps real estate, include stocks, okay? So those are longer term investment securities. The reason they're longer term is that they are quite volatile. So they can go up or go down. And what you want is time to recover.
I see.
So when the volatility happens, you want that your funds have some time within which you recover.
Thank you so much for all of this. Ladies and the few good men, or many good men out there, you've heard it. Miracles do happen, but if you want to make money, there is a process to making money. You must figure out whether you want it to be short-term, mid-term, or long-term investment. And did you know that with as little as 5,000 naira, you can begin to invest? So much to learn and glean from this episode. Don't forget to follow us on all our other platforms, particularly our website, where Lady Chioma's insights would be there to guide you on how to invest properly. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we definitely hope to have you back. We're not finished with this conversation. Ladies, please stay tuned for our next segment, our coaching segment on TransformHer. Welcome to today's coaching segment on TransformHer. Today we are discussing the very important topic of effective communication in leadership. So simply put, effective leadership communication. One of the marks of a good leader is one who is able to engage and communicate with their teams downwards or any other way. It's important that you engage your team because that's the only way you're able to effectively influence your team into progressing or moving things forward. And so we're going to talk about communicating downwards. This means communicating with people that you lead. To be able to communicate downwards, it's important that you have feedback. Feedback loop is very important in communicating downwards as a leader. It is one way you know if you are engaging effectively, how your team members feel, and if you are moving forward towards the desired goal. To be able to communicate effectively downwards, there are 3 things that a leader must take into consideration. You must have courage, you must have humility, and you must be disciplined about it. Let's explain this further. By courage, I mean you must have the courage to actually ask for feedback. It's not easy as a leader to take on feedback. And then comes humility to accept the feedback that you are given, whether constructive or not. As a leader, you should be able to differentiate between what's constructive, what's negative, and hey, you also have a role as a leader to be able to, respond when feedback is not constructive. But most importantly, when feedback is constructive, you have to have the discipline to make the changes. No one man is repository of all knowledge. So even as leaders, you will make mistakes. But if there's no feedback loop, you don't know how your team feels, and toxicity begins to run in the organization. So you must remember something. CHD, simply put. The courage to ask for feedback, the humility to accept the feedback that you have been given, and the discipline to make the changes. It's not easy being a leader, but it's important that you are communicating effectively with your team if you want to wield influence appropriately. Until next time, it's goodbye.